Senator Jaffer.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for being here once again. Minister, my questions are on S-51, but before I go to this subject to what Senator Day was saying on C-22, may I suggest for the Senate, instead of putting may appoint, that you use the word shall appoint, and then there is no doubt that there will be senators on that committee. Minister Goodale, I know you are doing consultations on C-51, and these consultations are ongoing, and it would be useful for us to know when are these consultations finishing, and when are you planning to table a bill on C-51? And Minister, I want to share this very quick note with you, is that I'm very concerned when there are consultations on human rights. The issues discussed in C-51 are human rights. And how do you consult on human rights? It can affect some people's rights. And I'm really worried that the tyranny of the majority can affect human rights. But my question is more practical, and there have been many instances of CSIS agents visiting law-abiding citizens at home and at work in a manner that can be summed up as intimidation. I have many people who are calling me saying that C-51 is alive. Liberals promise to deal with it right away. Minister, it's been a year. CSIS is knocking on doors of innocent Muslims, and I'm not exaggerating on that. I get calls all the time of people saying, Trudeau said he will deal with C-51. This will stop. When will it stop?
Minister Goodale.
Senator, I very much appreciate the question, and I appreciate the passion with which you expressed it, because many of those sentiments, I'm sure, are shared very fervently by all of us. In the platform, we laid out 8 or 9 things that we would do in response to what we considered to be the errors in C-51. The first and most prominent of those was to create the Committee of Parliamentarians to provide the oversight that should have been provided when the law was changed 2 years ago. It wasn't, but we're going to remedy that situation by creating the Committee of Parliamentarians. That's in Bill C-22. It's received second reading in the House. It's before the House of Commons Standing Committee now. In the next number of days, Minister Chagger and I will be dealing with our ministerial appearance before the committee, and I hope that it will be arriving in the Senate for your consideration very, very shortly. But that was commitment number 1, and we're well advanced in delivering on that. Commitment number 2 was to create a new initiative to deal with community outreach and counter-radicalization. I'm happy to report that the money necessary to get that started was included in Mr. Morneau's budget in the spring, and we are now in the process of recruiting the individuals who will serve in that initiative to make Canada the very best it can be at identifying the issues around radicalization in advance, and then intervening in the appropriate ways effectively to head off tragedies before they begin. The Aga Khan has often said that Canada is the finest expression of pluralism that the world has ever seen. And if we wish to retain that record and reputation, we have to get very good at this whole process of counter-radicalization, understanding it and dealing with it effectively. And there are some municipalities across the country that are way ahead. The City of Montreal is well advanced. The City of Calgary is well advanced. Others across the country. We need to build that network and knit it together, and that process is now underway. We also indicated there were 6 specific legislative amendments that we would be dealing with in respect of C-51. One is the paramountcy of the Charter, to make sure that the Charter is fully respected and complied with. Number 2, protecting the right of civil protest, so that is not diminished. Number 3, a more precise definition of terrorist propaganda than the rather broad language that is used in the legislation now. Number 4, clarifying the rules around appeals of registrations on no-fly lists, where the language in the statute as it presently stands is not satisfactory. There are issues around warrants when they're used for activities in relation to the Canadian security establishment in the Department of National Defence. That needs to be clarified, and then providing a 3-year review of all of Canada's anti-terrorism laws. Those were the specific commitments that we made at the time of the platform. All of those will be implemented. We are now consulting with Canadians about what else they want to see included in their national security framework, so we can shape it not as some kind of pale replica of what once was C-51, but shape it for the future as Canadians would want it shaped. Canadians did not have the opportunity for this kind of consultation 2 years ago. We are determined that they are going to have their say. So we are conducting roundtables and town hall meetings. I'm meeting with a long list, meeting personally and individually, with a long list of subject matter experts on all sides of this equation, and we're conducting an online consultation as well. Everyone is invited to participate in that. To date, we have had over 9,000 responses in terms of specific considered responses, and there are about another 7,000 that you would, I guess, put in the form of petitions or form letters. But that's a very significant amount of input, and the website will remain open until the 1st of December for Canadians to have their say. When all of that is assembled, we will report to Canadians on what we heard, so that Canadians will have a full scope, a full assessment of what their fellow citizens had to say here, and the government will then shape its legislation as early as possible in the new year based on the input that we have received. We understand it's urgent, and we understand Canadians expect us to get it right, and we want to do just that.
Senator